Hey guys, this is Ray, and we're going to be playing Fragments of Him. Now, Fragments of Him, this is a PC build you're seeing here. This is an interactive narrative experience, slightly different from what you're used to. It's not like it's sort of your Telltale game, or it's not like another point-and-click adventure. What you've basically got, you're sort of controlling a fragment of a dead person named Will. And you're interacting with the environment around Will to kind of see what happened, how did he die, and you're sort of piecing the story together. Now, the way they've done this is actually very different to other interactive narrative experiences, because you're effectively, while you're playing the person who has died in the game, you're also playing from the perspective of other individuals as well who have been affected by Will and who are related to Will. So you've got Will's mother as a main character, you've got Will's ex-girlfriend, who's going to be quite a prominent character in the game, and you've got Will's current boyfriend. Now, as you can see there's already some interesting plot dynamics at play, which I'm not going to go into here, so you need to play the game for yourself. But as you can, there's a lot that you learn from each of these characters about how they thought of what they thought of Will, how they thought of what happened, and basically getting a feel for the game itself. You really get a lot of individuality from these characters, but each of them all have relatively good things to say about Will. Now, the narrative develops in the game quite interestingly, because you've probably noticed as you've been watching the video, I've been clicking on individual parts of the scenery highlighted in yellow. Now, when you click on something highlighted in yellow, you normally get a line of dialogue. Now, the line of dialogue that you get actually tells you a bit more about the game, gives you a bit more of an insight, probably from the character's perspective. Now, as you can see here, I'm clicking on this car. Now, the one thing that's going to be interesting about watching this car is that generally the narrative in the game is quite linear. And so there are some variations in choice, but not a lot. So, for instance, you may have noticed that I could have gone down the lift at the beginning of the game, or I could have gone down the stairs, depending on how you're feeling at the time. It's entirely up to you. It doesn't really make much of a difference to the story. But when you're in the car, there is a set routine to how you actually, what you need to do. So in this instance, you have to put the seatbelt on. Oh, actually, before you even do that, you have to check the wind mirrors. Then you'll check it. You put the radio on. Then you put the seatbelt on. You put the handbrake on. Put your hands on the wheel, and then go for the gear stick, and then off you go. So you have to do things in a set, orderly way. And when you do that, that kind of ties into Will's perception of routine in life and the rhythm of things, and how he kind of sometimes wants to break the routine, and how he wants to see life beyond the set patterns that we put for ourselves. But it's an interesting game because you are looking at the grieving process throughout this, and it does deal with some very surprising issues as well. So again, without going into too much detail, Will's mother does have some difficulties accepting some of his relationships. And as you will find out when you play the game, Will's relationships are perhaps not what you might expect when you first play the game. But it's all about, again, dealing with the grieving process with each of these characters. Both will actually come into terms with what his life was up to the point of the accident, and people dealing with coping with how Will was around them, and how they will then proceed and then deal with life after Will. And it's fascinating because this narrative experience, as I say, is very different from Telltale. It's very different from a Deponia or a Monkey Island. But it is constantly telling you a story, and it is very much a story-driven game. And it's, as I say, the experience is extremely linear, and you will basically learn about... You will learn everything. There will be a beginning, middle, and end to the story. There's no sort of unanswered questions as such. However, you will probably feel something very individual and very different when you play the game, because grieving means different things to different people, and there are possibilities of trigger warnings in this as a result, because again, this is a game that may not be for everyone. They may have experienced a horrific death, or they may have experienced a death in the family and find it very difficult to deal with this time of game, or actually play this type of game because it reminds them of things that have happened in their own lives. But this was a very therapeutic thing for the developer. I think they've actually gone on record to say that this was a way to help them cope with their own grief. And they hope that, for instance, when you interact with certain objects, they disappear from the world. That actually might be a way of helping other people cope with that type of thing as well, and it's a very fascinating way to look at dealing with grief, and it's a very interesting narrative vehicle as well. Not something you've seen before. But yeah, I mean, it's a decent game. It's quite highly priced, so I'm not sure that it's going to be something everyone is going to jump on straight away and may wait for a sale and such. And again, it is coming to consoles at a later stage. But this is Fragments of Him on the PC. As you can see, it looks very gorgeous. It's an entertaining enough game for about 3 hours. And I did thoroughly enjoy my time with it. It's worth a look if you fancy something a little bit different. And I hope you've enjoyed the video, and be sure to tune in next time. Like, comment, and subscribe below. Let us know what you think, and we will see you next time.